Good morning. I come to you with the heaviest of hearts this morning. We learned last night that a giant has fallen. The Reverend Jessie L. Jackson has died. It is it's difficult to wrap into words all the meanings of his life. He has been just so much to so many for so long. And in my consciousness, Jesse has always been here. Think back to 1968 when Jesse was there with Reverend King when he was assassinated. Think to when Jesse came to Chicago to begin Operation Breadbasket. And through so many things, through so many fights, through so many challenges, and no matter who you were or where you were, or what you needed, people called on Jesse. And Jesse responded. Jesse was able to do things that others could not ever imagine doing, whether it's getting hostages from places outside of this country when no one else could do it. Jesse could. When Jesse took the mantle and decided in 1984 that he was going to run for president, he was taken seriously. And his comments and his thoughts and his words all then were those that we needed and we always needed in the space. As life goes, Parkinson's weakened his body, as he shared with me, but never weakened his mind. And every time I saw him, as weak as his voice was getting, he would call me close and whisper something in my ear about something I needed to do, something we needed to do, some help that he needed, but he was always in the fight. And when people would ask, when Jesse was appearing in places, and he was often there toward the end, and he was there, wheeled up, stood up, and in the moments he would find the strength in his voice to say what needed to be said. And it always meant so much coming from him. We knew that this disease was diminishing him. We knew that this disease was taking him. And we knew at some point God would call him home. And that moment happened last night. Hard to think about a world without Reverend Jackson, and no matter what space he's in. At the Rainbow Push breakfast just last month, he wasn't there. This is the first time that I can remember him not being there. And Yusuf spoke of it from the podium. We always knew that he was fighting, and he fought it and fought till the end. To wake up this morning, and Titus, interestingly enough, this was the first morning that I actually pressed the snooze on my alarm. And so when I got up and picked up my phone, it was filled with text messages, and there was nothing else but, oh my God. I think about the first time I really came to know Reverend Jackson directly. I think about how Reverend Jackson actually came down to Southern University when I was in college. And we heard that Reverend Jackson was coming down, and everybody ran to the football stadium, and it's just packed. It's packed. And Reverend Jackson comes in. I'm sorry, wrong. Reverend Jackson came to the mini dome. He came to the mini dome. We heard he was in the mini dome. We get to the mini dome, and it's packed. And it's Louisiana, so it's hot and it's sweaty. And Reverend Jackson is there, and he goes into "I Am Somebody," and he got all of us yelling with him. It was just a magnificent moment. And know that this was in the 70s. So this is when Reverend Jackson, full afro, sweaty brow, coming at us with everything that he had, and we're giving it back to him. Years later, I have an opportunity here to become the president of the Board of Education. And Reverend Jackson, when I first joined the board, Reverend Jackson was pushing hard then. He was pushing hard for Finger High School. And speaking of the differences, the disconnect, the disparity between Nequa Valley, who had everything, and Chicago Public Schools, who had nothing. And he pointed out the simple fact that Finger High School didn't have water in the swimming pool. And he pushed hard on that, and he pushed hard on that until ultimately the storage that the swimming pool was being used as was changed and water was put into the swimming pool. Eventually, another year or so, when I did become president of the board, Reverend Jackson came by to see me. And he came and he sat down and he looked at me and said, tell me what you need. And I listed off 13 things that just came off the top of my head. And I saw Reverend Jackson sit straight up in his chair and said, I need you to come to the broadcast. We need to talk about this. And from that moment, we developed a very strong bond that he would call on me often, and I would always respond and always there with him because I knew what he had done and what he was doing, what his voice meant to the work that we were trying to do. And I recall he called me for a press conference, and the first time I stood there, and it was my time to speak at this press conference. And it occurred to me that I am about to say something standing here in front of Reverend Jessie L. Jackson. And I almost froze because it was this man who I had seen in college, this man who commanded and demanded so much, who had done so much. Do I have a voice to stand and speak in front of him? But if Reverend Jackson is telling me to, it gave me such strength that moment and every moment since then. He has been a fighter for peace, a fighter for justice, a fighter for rights. He has been the reason why so many people have made it to the places they made. He has been the fighter in places where people really needed help. And just the notion that the Reverend would show up caused corporations and others to act differently. His family has put out a statement. They've said, it is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Honorable Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity. A tireless change agent, he elevated the voices of the voiceless, from his presidential campaigns in the 1980s to mobilizing millions to register to vote, leaving an indelible mark on history. Reverend Jackson is survived by his wife, Jacqueline, their children, Santita, Jesse Jr., Jonathan, Yusef, Jacqueline, daughter Ashley Jackson, and grandchildren. He was preceded in death by his mother, Helen Burns Jackson, his father, Noah Lewis Robinson, and stepfather, Charles Henry Jackson. Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world, said the Jackson family. We shared him with the world, and in return, the world became part of our extended family. His unwavering belief in justice, equality, and love uplifted millions, and we ask you to honor his memory by continuing the fight for the values he lived by. Public observances will be held in Chicago. Final arrangements for Reverend Jackson's celebration of life services, including all public events, will be released by the Rainbow Push Coalition at www.rainbowpush.org and www.jessiejacksonlegacy.com. Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr., gone and never to be forgotten. May his memory be a blessing. I'm at 773-591-1690. Obviously, our programming changes today with the news of the loss of the Reverend. I'm here a little bit earlier, an hour earlier than typical, as quickly as I could, to talk to you and hear from you as we remember this giant of a man, not only here in his family, not only in the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, but in the world. Brother Hall, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, Brother Rufus. Sad day. Thank you so much, brother, for showing up. Certainly, we need to share the love and respect of everything that this brother has put on our plate. We certainly appreciate him. God, thank you for allowing me to come in contact with Reverend Jackson as well. As I reminisce and look back, Rufus, I think about when we were picking in Revlon, when the day, but what I really remember is when we were down at the Federal Plaza. It was myself with others, but I remember Reverend Jackson leaning on my shoulder. He bigger than me. It was something, brother, because he was strategizing how we were going to move whatever we were doing that particular day. Pardon me, excuse me, I just can't remember myself in terms of why we were picking, what we were picking it about. But I remember those days, and those, as I tell my children and my grandkids, those were the good old days, Brother Rufus. To know that this man was able, many of us in 1970, we were at Parkside School. I don't know if you're familiar with Parkside, but that was on the south side of Chicago. And he came out to shoot hoop with us in the playground there. And that's how I met him. That's exactly how I met him. And brother, I'm so tore up this morning, brother. I'm just trying to piece as much as I can remember and our engagement and what it did for me and my family. My mother was always telling me to go to push. And that's where I would end up. Even when my children were small, I was bringing my children to Operation Push. One of the persons I'd like to thank so much was a couple of them, but particularly is Miss Eunice Windfall. This is a sister, man, that did everything she could do to be the mother of Operation Push. Not just now, but she had been there over the years. So certainly want to thank her for all that she did. Wasn't looking for nobody to pat on the back, what she did because she knew that was the right thing to do for her community. And I urge our young people today, they're listening, get involved. Don't leave this fight to many of us, the elders, who now can't do the things that we used to do, Brother Rufus. But I can assure you, if they get in the fight, we got a chance to win. And I just want to thank you, brother. How do you feel, Rufus, being a person that you are? How do you feel this morning, brother? What's your thing with Reverend Jackson? How did that hit you when you heard it this morning?
Thanks for the question, Brother Hall. It's shocking, shocking and saddening. And I think about. I saw Reverend Jackson as much as I could and interacted with him a lot. And so, I don't feel remorse or any way for anything that wasn't done. And I know that this man was cared for deeply by everyone, by his family and everyone around him. I think there's so much empowerment that comes from the spirit of people like Reverend Jackson, like Dr. King, like those who really put the fuel behind who we are. And so driving in, I'll tell you what I felt. I felt like I am so unbelievably fortunate to be able to sit in this seat and have these conversations with you and all the others who will call in to talk about this great man over the airwaves, because that's in fact what he was. And to be able to be the first one this morning here on legendary WVON, to have this conversation, I feel so emboldened by the opportunity and so saddened by the loss of Reverend Jackson. I sit here now, Brother Hall, and I recall there were times, I'm coming up into my 5th year in a few days here at WVON. And I recall when programming would just change because Reverend Jackson had something he wanted to talk about. He had something he wanted to get on the air. And he would call. And of course, Reverend Jackson, everything just changed right then, because of course we are taking his call. And, to see over the last couple of years how he was silenced by this disease, and now knowing that we won't have those calls again, we have other memories and the stories and all else. I am saddened by his loss, but empowered by what he has given us and strengthened by the
me
ability
too.
to be the one here to help carry the message.
Absolutely. Me too. Brother Rufus, man, I want to thank you, brother, for being the person who you are. I thank you. I thank the WBON family for being a trailblazer for our community. So thank you, brother, and giving me this time. I appreciate it. Much love and respect, brother.
And to you, Brother Hall, thank you so much for calling in and sharing. Got a number of callers here on the board. Love to hear from all of you because this is what we're doing. We are remembering Reverend Jackson. On the phone with me this morning now, Alderman Dorothy Tillman. Good morning.
Good morning, Rufus. How you doing?
It's a tough morning, Alderman. How are you?
Well, I'm all right, but when some on a part of your family leave, it's like a piece of you leaving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's one of those things that we know is happening. Talk to us because you've been involved in the movement, and thus with the Reverend for pretty much all of your life. Talk to us about who he is, who he was, what he meant, and what your thoughts are this morning.
Let me just first say that my prayers from my family to the Jackson family goes out to them, because what people don't understand, they might enjoy the fruits, but when you engage in fighting or you engage in giving your life to something, that's also something that your children have to go through too. They have to go through the fight, through the suffering, all the other stuff. So to Jackie, very brilliant young lady, to her and the children, my prayers goes out to them, for my family. Let me say that in order I got to first to talk about Reverend Jackson, I must also mention Reverend Clay Evans, James Bevel, and C.T. Vivian. People don't realize how much influence that Clay Evans also had on Reverend, which he still is a member of Clay Evans, of the church over there, fellowship. But I remember when Clay Evans brought Reverend Jackson to us on 47 in South Park to be part of our staff, and he said to Andy and to Reverend Bevan, this young man you need to make sure he's part of the staff. And I just wanted to, and people don't really realize the role that Reverend Clay Evans played, even down to the reason we did in the slums was because he brought a lady to us during the same time he brought Reverend Jackson, and said they was in cold water flats and they couldn't get no heat. But and so we keep forgetting sometimes of the ministers. Reverend Jackson was a minister, Dr. King was a minister, and how it was that Christian faith in those people who really believed in God who led that movement. So I've spoken with Jonathan this morning, but it was interesting, Rufus, because I was just in Atlanta for the King's celebration a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And I was with Ambassador Young, and we were talking about just going over. I just listened because Ambassador Young is 93, and he was saying, if Dr. King was living today, he'd be 97, and he reminisced about those who give so much and how many were still alive. And he also asked me how was Jessie doing, Reverend Jackson, I must say, and just to sit there with him at 93 years old, and then to think about Reverend Jackson, and think about, he said, well, there's not that many field staff workers or field people with Dr. King that's really in this generation is going. And it was really a compassionate thing to sit there, Reverend, with Ambassador Young. And then today, we knew that he was ill, but it was something about when that final thing happened, it kind of touches you a little bit. So yes, Reverend Jackson and Jacqueline, they were partners, and he gave a lot. He gave a lot. You have to give up a lot to. This just don't happen. This has to be a commitment. And from the time that I met Reverend Jackson was in 1966 on 47 in King Drive, when Clay Evans brought him to us, and I happened to have to be one of the ones to help teach him about the nonviolent part of that movement. But but it didn't matter about that. It was he was destined. And when Dr. King chose him to help head up the Operation Breadbasket, and that most people don't talk about now, but that was a very important thing. Breadbasket was started in Atlanta, and it was the thing about breadbasket wasn't just a word. It was to put, because in the South, Rufus, you know, you sit around the table and you pass the bread around, and people break bread off because family eat together, and it was, we put bread on everybody's table. A breadbasket should be on everybody's table. So he took that breadbasket and did a lot with it. You know, Little Red Rooster stuff we had to boycott, and really began to launch a lot of boycotts in Chicago. And we went on after the assassination of Dr. King when he started the Rainbow Push Coalition. Yeah, I've kind of, you know, there's a piece of me when he's gone, because there's not that many around anymore, especially after being with Ambassador Young a couple of weeks ago. And you look back and you look at what we are. I think about C.T. Vivian. You might not know Reverend Vivian, a very, most people out there, a lot of people would know him, but how they was insistent, and they helped mold him and get him to get ready to go speak. You can do this, you know. You can go do it by yourself. And as Reverend Bevel and C.T. Vivian say, okay, stand in front of this, you're going to do it. And he was always, you could see the potential of what, and he was just like a brother, a civil rights brother. I said, we have the SCLC family. We all part of a Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and we keep, we dine off, I mean, the elders as we go, but he leaves behind a legacy, and he leaves behind a family. I really, you don't know what I'm doing this morning, because I didn't feel like really doing anything, even as I had some calls, but I decided to talk to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Can you share what it meant for Reverend Jackson to be sent to Chicago to begin Operation Breadbasket? Why here and why him? What did that mean?
Well, when Dr. King, when we came north to our movement, to do our northern movement, and it was, he was looking around to get, because when we went into cities, we always tried to look for strong leaders, because we never expected to stay there. SCLC would move on and leave other leaders who could do, but because we had the Operation Breadbasket that was going so strong in the South, and his observation, Bevel and CT and all of my observation of Reverend Jackson was, this would be a good brother to work on the Operation Breadbasket to make sure that we don't buy what we can't eat. And the breadbasket was really where you was boycotting stores who was not hiring Black people and was not putting Black. But then we had Joe Louis Milk in Chicago,
right?
And on their shelf, but it was boycotting so that we could work. And he took that Operation Breadbasket to another level of things that we should be doing. You know, he had Expo. He did the Expo over at where he brought all the businesses and different folks together in the Black community. So he really kind of took off on the breadbasket in Chicago. And after the assassination of King, he moved into push People United to Save Humanity.
Quite a journey from there to today, and all that he did for that organization, with that organization, and using that as a foundation to really.
Yeah, he did. That's what it's long. I think people kind of take you for granted, Rufus, and they don't understand the sacrifice that you give and your family give. You have to really make a commitment, because there are things that you don't have to. I'm sure there was opportunities to be doing something else, but he was committed to what he was doing and to that whole to our people. I mean, you have to have really a commitment there, and the whole family have to buy into that, and you have to sacrifice a lot for that. Reverend Jackson used to say, you know, people shake the trees. We shake the tree and y'all make the jelly, but you got to be able to share the jelly. You can't just. I mean, I might be. I might not be quoting him exactly right, but he had a really strong thing. He was always say, some folks shake the trees and other jelly makers, but when you make the jelly, you got to share and come back and rebuild. And that is so true. And you know, when you sit back and I can imagine over the last few months, especially when he wasn't verbal, he had to go back in his mind and think about all the times of having the children growing up and this movement, his children growing up in this movement, the times you have to be away from your family. People talk about you, do things, all kind of stuff, but you have to stay the course. But in order to stay the course, you have to have a strong family behind you. And that's why you cannot really talk about Reverend Jackson without talking about Jacqueline Jackson. Very brilliant woman. Most folks don't really realize how brilliant Jackie is. And Santina, his children, most of them might know Jackie and Jonathan. I mean, Jesse and Jonathan, but there's Santina, and there's you. They know yourself now. And then there's Jacqueline Jr., his daughter, and folks just don't think about that. They think about Reverend Jackson, and they'll think about Jesse Jr. and Jonathan right now, but there's a whole family there, and that had to. And you know, things happen when you give that much commitment to your people, and a lot of things can happen within a family while you're giving that much, because you're not there to really. Some of the things you might miss, or some of the things you might need to be doing, but the family suffers, or when someone threatens you, or say, I remember when they said, we put a bomb by your house. That my whole family freaked out when they put that bomb by my office. Same thing with Jesse, Reverend Jackson. What pain did those children go through when I remember when they put a head on Push's step up, cuts a head, a pig or something through on his step. But all the threats that you have to go through, and all the things he went through, I can imagine. I know a lot of them, but I don't know all. But he didn't stop. You know, some of the things that he had to go through, he didn't stop, and the family had to go through that too. So you cannot separate that whole family from him. And he also you have the extended family, which are our people, the people who embrace the movement. You know, when you think about Betty Magnus, who was there and by his side forever, even through death. But the extended family outside, you might not know their names, who get in and buy in, and they decide that they're going to work with you and for you. All the members of Push You come over through. And all the people don't talk about the contracts that he forced a lot of these companies to give to Black people, to open up doors for Black people to be able to come in. Those are things too. The economic piece that he did in terms of the Black community. So he did that too. So he called me. I kind of feel like I could hear him, just kind of sad, but those of us who believe in Christ know that it's not the end. And we have to always understand that this civil rights movement was led by ministers. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., not MLK, Reverend Andy Young, Reverend James Bevel, Reverend C.C. Vivian, Reverend Jessie Jackson, Reverend Clay Evans. You know, the minister having a compass. You have to have that moral compass, or that faith that will keep you going in spite of. And if we remember anything, it's that faith that kept him along with others going. And you don't miss, they said, remember that song, Rufus, don't miss your water till your well run dry?
Sure do.
So, I kind of sad. When I was down there with Bernice a couple of weeks ago, and I was told her how proud I was, because she was holding that King Center together that her mother put up, and how she was really doing. And I was just thinking about sometime, Rufus, as the Black community, and I think we need to really have a conversation about that one day. You can have it. I mean, our community have to have that people like Dr. King and Reverend Jackson and Malcolm X, and those people who put their life on the line and give up so much. And I looked at Bernice and I realized that I was telling my daughter that how the black community failed the King family. They can talk about him, but they failed him because when he died, when he was assassinated, they didn't reach in and grab him, the children, and make sure. When Malcolm X was assassinated, didn't reach in. The same way when Reverend Jackson was putting everything he had out there, did they reach in and grab it? They just, it's something that we don't really understand, but we're hurting. We've lost something now. There's a hole in the black community. Some people die and nobody missed them but their family. But there are other giants like Reverend Jackson. When they go, there's a hole that's in the black community that you'll miss it. You really will miss it. Who's going to feel it? You know, there's a hole right now in that black community and all. But he did what God asked him to do. And he gave it all to the end. Even Betty told me I'm going to this demonstration. The Reverend Mayor, because he can't go. He couldn't hardly talk. He wants to get up and get in that wheelchair and go to some demonstration. But then that was him. He knew nothing else. His whole life was giving up the movement, and we have to. His children had to suffer. Your children, I know, have to suffer behind all of that for a lot of reasons. You know, I heard Jonathan on GN this morning. And he was talking about that was their dad. That's what they saw him as, dad. And they were talking about a lot of stuff they might have missed out. The commentary was about a lot of stuff they might have that he might have missed out on. But those children understand, and they're carrying on. And so my heart just goes out to him. He was more than just, you know, we see him as Jessie Rufus because he's in Chicago. You know what I'm Jessie?
Yeah.
But you have to take a moment and he's one, he said, keep hope alive. He had to, I mean, he was born, you know, he had some problems that he had to work through because when he was born, he just shut up talking about, with, you know, he didn't, his mom and dad, all that, he was adopted by his stepfather. Right. You know, all the stuff that he talked about that life openly, but I won't go into now about his father and his stepfather, his mom and all that. But to go to what he did is let people know that my mother was a single mother when she had me. But what she taught him and how he kept going and what all you can be. When he said keep hope alive, you mean that because he had to do it and all this stuff like that. But we miss him. We missed him off the scene. But his spirit, you know, we'll miss that spirit of his. Let's hope that the community keep supporting and don't let push die, and keep supporting and recommit to the founding principles of what push was, or the founding principles. We lose the principles. We lose those principles. So I didn't want to come on this morning, but people, I said okay. Because I'm really just reflecting, especially just coming from Atlanta and spending that time with Ambassador Young, who's 93 years old, and thinking about some of the stuff he said, and thinking about we those of us in this generation as we leave, what's going to happen, or what are we leaving? You understand?
Very much so. Well, I understand the challenge of joining me this morning, and I so appreciate it because we needed to hear your voice and needed to hear your reflections and your thoughts. So thank you so much.
Well, I thank you once again, and VON family, to Melody and all, and to the family of VON. My prayers go out for you too, but my prayers really go out to the Jackson family this morning. And thank you, Rufus.
Thank you, Alderman.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now. Let me take a couple more calls before we get to the top of the hour. We're remembering the life, the legacy of Reverend Jessie Jackson, whose impassioned oratory and populist vision of a rainbow coalition of the poor and forgotten made him made him the nation's most influential Black figure in the years between the civil rights crusades of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the election of Barack Obama. Reverend Jackson died this morning. He was 84 years old. Brother Chris, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, Brother Rufus and the WVON family. And to the love and prayers, and hopefully the good Lord can cover the Jackson family. Rest in power, rest in heaven, Brother Jesse Louis Jackson. Can't thank him enough. He's one of the people that gave so much, but could never get the return what he gave. Groundbreaking brother, trendsetter, president, our father, Reverend, humanitarian. The list goes on. I had heard he passed, and I thought I was just half asleep, and so I got up, probably a little bit before 5, and confirmed it. I got to talk to him right before Cliff Kelly had, took his rewiring, and when Brother Jackson had gave his diagnosis, I think it was the Parkinson's disease or whatever, and I told him, that the pad work is like the boxing exercise really helps that, and lo and behold, I saw him with Jesse Jr. and Freddie Roach holding the gloves for him, and it was a beautiful thing to see. And he may have been nonverbal some of the past years, but his legacy and his action spoke volumes and continue to speak volumes. Very inspiring. Brother Jackson lit up the room, and just want to say, rest in heaven, rest in power. We lost the giant, man. We lost the giant, and just thinking, like I said, when he ran for president, run, Jesse, run. So thank you, Brother Rufus Williams.
Chris, thank you for calling, and thanks for those memories. Appreciate it. Robert, good morning and welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Hey, Rufus. This is Robert Palmer. I wanted to say first my condolences to the Jackson family. He was a juggernaut. He did things that a lot of people couldn't do or couldn't get done. Yeah, I remember at Inglewood High School, he came to our school, and I remember the phrase, down with dope and up with hope.
Yeah.
And he did do a lot for contracts and things like that. And Obama is in there, or he contributed to at least a pathway for Obama getting elected. And another thing too, I would run into him. He got around a little bit too. I ran into him at the Super Bowl out in Los Angeles, Laker games, and the last time I got to see him was when Reverend Senator Warnock came over to Trinity a couple of years ago, and I didn't think that would be my last time getting to see him, but that was the last time that I actually saw him. But I wanted to say that, and he was a special person in our history, and he needs to be celebrated.
And we absolutely will do just that, Robert. Thank you so much for your call and your thoughts. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you, Rufus.
All right. Greg, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, Rufus. How you doing, my
Doing fine.
This is truly one of those moments in time that we should take note on the greatness of our people. This man could have just became a football player because he was a football player. He didn't have to get involved with none of it. He could have just stood and said, I'm going to get this football contract and I'm going to do my thing. And we would have just known him as Jesse Jackson, the football player. But Jesse Jackson, the man, is what stood up and said, no, I'm bigger than football. I'm bigger than this. I got to get out here and get involved. I always had a problem with sometimes with people who criticize those who did the work. Even when I was a young man, even I always had a problem with Carl Keith Rowan. I always had a problem with anybody who did any criticism of anybody, of anything, and who wasn't doing the necessary work. I always had a problem with people who just stood on the sideline, and I always talk about what Jesse Jackson is, and he always did that, or Martin Luther King, or whomever. None of us was around when Toussaint Overture beat the French. None of us was around during those times, the 54th Massachusetts that got involved in the civil rights movement. The Civil War, rather. We need to always respect those who didn't have to get involved. If they had caught Harriet Tubman, it would have been ugly, like they did with Nat Turner. We don't appreciate the people that came out of us, that was born out of our loins, born out of God's creation, but born out of our loins, that paved the way for all of us to do the necessary things that we're doing today. When we don't appreciate a great Jesse Jackson, then that means we don't appreciate nothing that has ever been accomplished by all these people who paved the way. And today is a sad day. But it's still a wonderful day because he came our way. The great Jesse Jackson said, I am somebody. And that set a precedent for me to say, no matter what, despite being a child who was a sickly child, who had to go through a lot of things, but I always loved those who paved the way for me and you and anybody else. So I am, for the Jackson family, condolences to you all on his legacy, but on just being your father or being y'all friend. Thank God for the life and times of Jesse Jackson Sr. Thank you, Rufus.
Thank you, Greg. Amen to that. Let's take a quick break. It's just about the top of the hour. We are remembering the life and the legacy of Reverend Jessie Louis Jackson this morning. He passed early today at 84 years old. May his memory be a blessing. We'll be back right after this.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here are your news headlines. Civil rights activist and icon Jesse Jackson has died. And Thomas Pritzker steps down as Hyatt chairman over Epstein emails. We will have details on these stories and much more headed your way. National news from the Black Information Network is up next on the station that is Black and proud, WVON 1690 AM, Berwyn, Chicago.
Since 1985, Solo Beauty has been Chicago's home for beauty, culture, and confidence. From locks to curls, find all your favorite brands. Luster Pink, TGIN, Talia Waheed, plus local favorites like Tress Organics, Lock Bay, and Black Panther. When you shop Solo, you support Black jobs, Black business, and Black beauty. Visit us at 8158 South Cottage Grove or 9011 South Ashland, or shop online and on DoorDash. And don't forget to tune in Tuesdays at 9 p.m. for the Black Hair Care Business Talk Show on WVON. Shop Solo, shine together.
This report is brought to you by ComEd, powering lives. Here's a great savings idea. Did you know you've got the power to manage your energy? Yep, from usage alerts to energy savings programs and more. ComEd has all kinds of ideas to help you gain control over your energy cost. Find out more at ComEd.com/energy savings.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40, and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Tell everybody, Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real.
Primary care that's completely you. OSF Complete Care 55 Plus is personalized primary care for adults 55 and older living with ongoing health conditions. Now accepting patients in Evergreen Park. OSFhealthcare.org/CC55.
This report is brought to you by Aleve. Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Aleve can help you deal with pain less throughout the day. With just one pill, Aleve lasts up to 12 hours. Don't let those aches and pains hold you back from doing what's important to you. Use as directed.
This is Kamini Khan, certified financial planner professional. For the past year, I've been on a mission to change lives and build wealth in our community. Together, we're changing the paradigm. This year, I'm back with a new series, Wealth Strategies, Money Talks. Join me every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on the Rufus Williams Show as we have thoughtful discussions around building wealth in our community. We'll discuss topics like investing, savings, tax strategies, retirement, and all things money. Yes, that's Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so set those alarms. Also, be sure to check out the podcast at WVONWealthShow.com.
Komini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors, LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Is another 2008 financial crisis looming? This is Kevin Demerit for Lear Capital. Just listen to the news. Numbers don't lie. Personal debt is at record highs. Corporate bankruptcies are soaring. Just the interest on our debt will hit $1 trillion this year. Then you have central banks buying record amounts of gold to protect their own assets. They see what's coming and it's a no-brainer. Maybe it's time for you to do the same. Move some of your paper assets into gold because they can't print more gold. It's easy to buy, easy to sell, and it's never been worth zero.
Folks, Kevin Demerit has been spot on about the economy and gold. Call Lear Capital today at 1-800-927-2400 for your free gold investor kit and their 2024 special report, Rising Debt, Rising Gold. Tell them Kevin sent you, and you'll also get free shipping on your first order. Call 1-800-927-2400. That's 1-800-927-2400. 1-800-927-2400.
I'm Rufus Williams. Watch the new episode of Bound and Woven, where I sit down with a woman whose story shook this city and moved the nation. Anjanette Young, author of Past the Pain, joins me for a raw and honest conversation about trauma, accountability, and what it really takes to rebuild your life when the system fails you. This is an easy conversation, but it's necessary. Join me for Bound and Woven, streaming now on Vine TV, which you can catch on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV Plus, the WVON app, or simply go to VON.TV.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. At Lowe's, Blueprint Takeoff turns your blueprints into quotes faster. Bring your plans to Lowe's Pros Desk and get help streamlining the estimating process. Then, when your order's ready, Lowe's delivers to the job site.
1690 WVON remembers the Reverend Jessie Louis Jackson Sr.
Beautiful. Proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody. I
You were a beacon of light, not only for Chicago, but for the nation. From our family to yours. Rest in peace, Reverend Jackson. Job well done.
Jesse run because they see me running for the White House. They don't see the house I'm running from. I have a story. I wasn't always on television. Writers were not always outside my door. When I was born late one afternoon, October 8th, in Greenville, South Carolina, no writers asked my mother her name. Nobody chose to write down our address. A mama was not supposed to make it, and I was not supposed to make it. You see, I was born a teenage mother who was born a teenage mother. I understand. I know abandonment and people being mean to you and saying you're nothing and nobody and can never be anything. I understand. Jesse Jackson is my third name. I'm adopted. When I had no name, my grandmother gave me her name. My name was Jesse Burns till I was 12. So I wouldn't have a blank space. She gave me a name to hold me over. I understand when nobody knows your name. I understand when you have no name. I understand. I wasn't born in the hospital. Mama didn't have insurance. I was born in the bed at house. I really do understand. Born in a 3-room house. Bathroom in the backyard. Slop job by the bed. No hot and cold running water. I understand. Wallpaper used for decoration? No. For a windbreaker. I understand. I'm a working person's person. That's why I understand you, whether you're black or white. I understand work. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had a shovel programmed for my hand. My mother, a working woman. So many days she went to work early, with runs in her stockings. She knew better, but she rolled runs in her stockings so that my brother and I could have matching socks and not be laughed at school. I understand. At 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, we couldn't eat turkey because Mama was preparing somebody else's turkey at 3 o'clock. We had to play football to entertain ourselves. And then around 6 o'clock, she would get off the Alta Vista bus and we would bring up the leftovers and eat our turkey, leftovers, the caucus, the cranberries, around 8 o'clock at night. I really do understand. Every one of these funny labels they put on you, those of you who are watching this broadcast tonight in the projects, on the corners, I understand. Call you outcast, low down, you can't make it, you're nothing, you're from nobody, subclass, underclass. When you see Jesse Jackson, when my name goes in nomination, your name goes in nomination. I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me. And it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not support. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you are qualified. You hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive on tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. Very much.
Wow, gives me strength, gives me smiles, gives me chills, and gives me tears. Such a powerful speech the Reverend gave back in 1984. I still remember going to the voting booth and pulling the lever for Reverend Jackson, and just the feelings I felt for being able to vote for this Black man for president of the United States. It was such a moment for me, and to watch him deliver the speech, which you just heard with such passion, with such relatability. And for anybody who thought that it wasn't possible, I think Jesse came in third in the primary that year. It's going to be hard not to have Jesse with us, but it's going to be wonderful to have the ability to continue to hear his words and the strength that came with that. If you're just tuning in, we lost a giant this morning. Reverend Jackson died peacefully at 84 years old. He had been hospitalized back in November for treatment of a rare and particularly severe neurodegenerative condition. It's called progressive supranuclear palsy, according to the advocacy organization he founded, Rainbow Push. Back in 2017, he announced he had Parkinson's disease, which in its early stages can produce similar effects on body movements and speech. Reverend Jackson, we watched him in his strength, and we watched him as Parkinson's was coming in and doing what it was doing to him. And he said to me very specifically, he said, Brother Rufus, it's taken over my body, but it's not taken over my mind. I am still sharp. My voice isn't as strong, but we're still making some things happen. We're still making some things work. And as he always said, to me and to everyone else, I need your help. And his body, his physical body, is now with Leak & Sons. So we know that he'll be well taken care of there. His spirit and his memory and his fight is left with us. It's for us to do and for us to carry on. Got a good friend on the phone. Love to get his thoughts on the loss of Reverend Jackson. Louis Carr, good morning and welcome back to WVON, my friend. How are you this morning?
How are you?
I'm okay. What are your thoughts? What are your reflections on the loss of the Reverend Louis?
Well, I think we all know the impact that Reverend Jackson not only had on the Black community, but all communities and across the world has been immeasurable. I think the leadership, him as an inspirational leader, him as a leader for hope, has been something that our communities needed, and he sacrificed him and his family, and they gave it to us. So it's a tremendous loss for us, but we had a lot of gain, impact, and influence while he lived. So extremely important, extremely sad, but also extremely grateful that we all had the privilege to be a part of an amazing journey and an amazing influence.
Louis, you are now the president of BET, and we've walked the same streets literally in our youth. Talk about how his impact has impacted your career and you, and what happens at BET and what happens in media and places beyond. Even, you know, you sold more stuff than anybody knows. But talk about what his influence meant, whether it was direct to you or whether it was just what we felt otherwise throughout society.
Well, I think the impact on me directly, and Rufus, you and I grew up together, was that statement, I am somebody. We grew up in communities where people sort of ignored us, or where we grew up, people didn't think that greatness could come from those communities. And his call to I am somebody inspired us, it motivated us, it gave us confidence that we could be successful beyond what we saw or what was being portrayed in front of us. So I'll always remember that. And the other one, keep hope alive. As we continue to sort of navigate our political and economic systems, keep hope alive is always appropriate. And I think that anyone today, if you remember those two things, I am somebody and keep hope alive, you will keep his memory alive and you keep his work alive.
And Louis, if you're giving some direction, because we're now in the more seasoned part of our careers, if you're giving some direction to younger people, if you're giving some direction to the next generations, what do you say to them about how we do, in fact, keep hope alive and keep his legacy alive and keep pushing for those who are coming behind us?
Well, what I would say is we all have to do the work, Rufus. You know, we have to be involved. We have to be informed. We have to be concerned. We have to be educated. And we have to think beyond our own individual needs. We've got to think about the needs of our families, our communities, our broader communities. We have to be participants in the process, no matter how you feel or no matter how you get discouraged. You have to keep pushing and be engaged in the process. You cannot have impact and influence if you're standing on the sidelines.
Louis, thank you so much for that. And you certainly are not, and certainly keep doing what you're doing and stay connected. We're continually proud of you, where you've gotten to, the influence that you have. So, you know, if it was never our time before, it certainly is now, because the giant is gone. Certainly appreciate you getting on with us this morning and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, be well. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more Remembering Reverend Jackson right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
I'm Keith David Connor. This Black History Month on WVON, I'm honored to say Kiss My Black Past, highlighting Black history through my 2026 Culture Proud calendar as part of WVON's Eracism campaign. See the culture through my eyes. Man of the Nile. Egypt is the gift of the Nile. The Black man and his ingenuity created one of the first and greatest civilizations. Egypt has lasting monuments, such as the pyramids, built of great befuddling technology. The founders of the United States used this in the design of Washington, D.C., and are based on ancient Egyptian Kemetic design and Masonic symbolism. Keith David Connor. Order my Culture Proud calendars at kcart1.com. You've been listening to Culture Proud, Kiss My Black Past, an exclusive Black History Month series on WVON.
Life is busy, so getting your mammogram should be simple. At U Chicago Medicine Ingalls Memorial, we've designed the entire experience around you. Fast appointments, expert care, and now same-day scheduling at locations close to home. Don't put it off. Check it off your list. Call 708-915-6266 or visit uchicago.medicine.org/mammogram to schedule a same-day mammogram.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
This report is brought to you by AutoZone. AutoZone, get in the zone. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, good Tuesday morning. Our update on the roads begins on the Edens, the Lake Cook to Montrose, a 16-minute ride. Right now on the Kennedy O'Hare to downtown, you're looking at 35 minutes if you're traveling on the Stevenson. Tri-State 2 Deuce Sabo Lakeshore Drive, 36 minutes. We are heavy inbound between Harlem and Kedzie. Right now on the Dan Ryan 95th to downtown, a 25-minute trip in the local lanes inbound. Between 51st and Roosevelt, we do have a bit of slow-moving traffic. Your weather for today overall, another pleasant day. Expect a high of around 52 degrees and cloudy to partly sunny. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
I know it's dark, but the morning comes. We can make it. I know it's dark, but the morning comes. We're healed by our stripes. I know it's dark, but the morning comes. Egypt and slavery could not hold us. The morning had to come. The Red Sea could not hold us back. The God we serve can part waters. The morning had to come. He took the lion's appetite and turned that growl into music. The morning had to come. Lazarus got up out of the grave. The morning had to come. Herod could not stop him. The innkeeper could not stop him. The silver star was shining above Bethlehem because the morning had to come. Church, get ready. It's morning time. From slave ship to championship, it's morning time. From the outhouse to the state house to the courthouse to the White House, it's morning time. It's morning time. It's dark, but hold on to your faith. If I perish, faith. If I perish, let me perish. It's morning time. Though you slay me, yet will I trust you. It's morning time. Yea, though I walk through the valleys and shadows of death, every day of my life, I fear no evil, for the Lord is with me. It's morning time. You better hold on now. You better hold out now. If my people who are called by my name, humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then they will hear from heaven and I will heal their land. Don't you turn back. It's morning time. It's morning time. It's morning time. It's morning time.
If you cannot be inspired by Reverend Jessie Jackson, then you cannot be inspired. It is a voice that has now been silenced, but fortunately we have the memories and we have the strength of all that he has shared. Reverend Jackson ran for president. Reverend Jackson was close to Dr. King, and while he may not have ever reached the point that Barack Obama ultimately reached, or even the spaces where Dr. King was able to carry us, it was through the power of his language and his preternatural energy and ambition that he became a moral and political force in a racially ambiguous era. When Jim Crow was still a vivid memory and Black power more than an aspiration than a reality. With his gospel of seeking common ground, his pleas, as you hear, to keep hope alive, and his demands for respect for those who seldom received respect. Reverend Jackson, particularly in his galvanizing speeches at the Democratic conventions in 84 and 88, which you've just heard, enunciated a progressive vision that defined the soul of the Democratic Party, if not necessarily its policies, in the last decades of the 20th century. It's a vision that was animated by civil rights in the civil rights era, in which an inclusive coalition of people of color and others who had been at the periphery of American life would now move to the forefront and to transform it. At the 84 convention, he said, "My constituency is desperate, the damned, the disinherited, the disrespected, and the despised. They are the restless, and they seek relief." We're remembering Reverend Jackson this morning. We'll remember him forever, but we certainly will acknowledge him and acknowledge his life here on the day when we learn that he has passed early this morning. Michael O'Connor, good morning and welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Hi, good morning, Rufus.
Good morning.
When I woke up this morning and found out that Reverend Jackson was gone, it was like a punch in the gut. I've been a part of PUSH since I was 14, actually earlier, not as a member, but benefiting from PUSH. When I was a young boy, the first circus that I saw was because Reverend Jackson took us to the circus in the amphitheater. That was back in 69, 71. When I became around 14 or 15, because I had been, it wasn't I believe, I don't know if it was true, I can just go by my anecdotal poem. Everywhere where I had to do work, I used to work in other people's homes when I was a kid to make change. And my parents, they allowed me to go to certain people's house, and I worked there. Every house that I went to, Reverend Jackson was on a Saturday morning. You always heard him on the radio. When I was old enough to go on my own, I went to PUSH, and I went there to be a part of the first protest that I was ever in. That was when they were selling rotten meat to us at the A&P on as far as 87th and Cottage Grove and some of the other stores on Stony Island. And we protested out in front of the stores. That helped. When the A&P wouldn't hire us, it was Reverend Jackson who did the call to for them to hire more of us. That didn't just happen here in Chicago. That happened all across the country. I remember the time when Reverend Jackson called us to Reverend Jackson and Lou Palmer, because at that time, Black leadership did what they had to do behind closed doors and was united in public. And when there was a call to boycott the Chicago Fest, Jane Byrne did her visibility, but we were still going through changes. Reverend Jackson headed that. I went to PUSH, and our buses drove, and we boycotted at Chicago Fest. I got in trouble when I got home because my parents didn't know that I was way down there, that far away from home, and I was still a kid. And I didn't know until I got home, and my parents asked me, "Well, what did you do today?" And I went to lie, and I saw my brother smirk, my little brother smirk on his face, and I was put on punishment because I had lied. And that was because I was down there. And I didn't understand at the time why they didn't want us to go down there. I mean, this was, Reverend Jackson was the only one speaking out on a regular basis. And he did it through WVON because it was on WVON radio that anybody, all you had to do was turn on the radio. And at that time, it was at 1450, and you didn't, people knew. And so for me, it was kind of rough, but I continued. I wound up going away to college and coming back and working for the government. And there was a protest. Reverend Jackson wanted us to go and protest what Chicago Housing was doing and how they were treating people in CHA. And we went down there, and that protest allowed me to begin to meet a number of other people, like Dorothy Tillman, because her and Mary Stamps went to jail, and they pushed me out the way. I was Conrad and them told me to get out the way before the cops came, and they got arrested, and I came home. With that being said, I've been around Push ever since. I've been around Push, and I've seen with my own eyes how I witnessed the importance of Reverend Jackson, including when he ran for president, how he taught us or was trying to teach us to love thy neighbors as we supposed to, as ourselves.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, I certainly appreciate your memories. I got to take a break because we got to get back to our regular program.
And I will. Thanks for letting me talk.
I appreciate you.
You have a good day.
Appreciate you always. Let's find out what else is going on in the news. We'll be back with more right after this.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here's what's happening in your local news. Civil rights activist and former presidential candidate Jessie Jackson has died at the age of 84. Tammy Trujillo has more.
His family announced his death overnight, saying he passed away peacefully surrounded by loved ones. Jackson had been dealing with a progressive neurodegenerative disease for the past decade. He spoke at the 1988 Democratic presidential nominating convention.
I see the face of America, red, yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. The real Rainbow Coalition.
Jackson ran for the Democratic Party's nomination for president in 1984 and 1988 and did better than any African American had done until Barack Obama won the nomination in 2008. He began pushing for civil rights as an undergrad when he marched with Martin Luther King Jr. at Selma, Alabama in 1965. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
In other news, a cousin of Governor Pritzker is stepping down as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels over his link to Jeffrey Epstein. The Chicago-based company announced the resignation of Thomas Pritzker. The news comes months after documents showed Pritzker exchanged at least 20 emails with Epstein for years after his 2008 plea deal on sex crime charges. Thomas Pritzker hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing. Your weather for today, cloudy to partly sunny, a high of 54. I'm Candace McCollum, and that was a look at your news and weather on the D.L. Hughley Show on the Talk of Chicago 1690 WVON.
Attention nonprofit organizations. In times of crisis, communication and community are critical. That's why WVON is partnering with the Chicago Community Trust, a philanthropic organization to help local nonprofits respond effectively during crisis moments. We'll be providing practical communication strategies to help organizations navigate challenges, protect trust, and continue serving our neighborhoods with clarity and purpose. To learn more about Meeting the Moment, visit wvon.com/meeting the moment. Strong communication isn't just helpful, it's essential. Make sure your message is heard when it matters most. Meeting the Moment is powered by the Chicago Community Trust.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait. And don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, Chicago, this one is for you. Join OG Mr. Rick for the OG Culture Report every Thursday night from 9 to 12 right here on WVON 1690 AM. We're talking the culture, our stories, the streets, politics, entertainment, our struggles, our wins, and the voices that matter. Don't miss it. Every Thursday night, 9 to 12, the OG Culture Report with yours truly, OG Mr. Rick, on WVON 1690. That's it. That's all.
This report is brought to you by Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Chicago, good Tuesday morning. It is time for an update on the roads, and we begin on the Eisenhower Wolf to the post office. You're looking at a 35-minute ride. Right now on the Stevenson Tri-State 2 DuSable Lakeshore Drive, you're looking at 36 minutes. The Dan Ryan 95th to downtown, a 28-minute trip, slow moving in the local lanes, inbound between 51st and Roosevelt, I-57, I-80 to the Ryan, an 18-minute trip, and the Bishop Ford, 80-94 to the Ryan, 19 minutes. We do have slow-moving traffic inbound between 103rd and the Dan Ryan, DuSable Lakeshore Drive, Hollywood to Monroe. You're now looking at 11 minutes. Your weather for today, a high of 52 degrees, cloudy to partly sunny. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON. Now back to the Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
There's nowhere to go. Oh no, you made your choice. Now it's up to me to bow out gracefully. Though you hold the key, but baby, whenever you call me, I'll be there. Whenever you want me, I'll be there. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. I'll be around. I knew just what to say. Now I found out today.
Welcome back. We are remembering the life, the legacy of Reverend Jessie Louis Jackson Sr., who passed this morning, surrounded by his family. Nothing about Reverend Jackson was simple, beginning with his upbringing. He was born on October 8th, 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina, to his 16-year-old mother, Helen Burns. She was a high school majorette. His father was a handsome, imposing 33-year-old former boxer who lived next door He was married to another woman. He wasn't involved in Jesse's rearing, which was a source of humiliation for the Reverend as he grew up in the small segregated Black community because everybody knew everyone. His mother in 1943 married Charles Jackson, who she had met while he was a shoe shine attendant at a barbershop. And later they got married, and he did not adopt Jesse until 14 years later. All these things empowered the Reverend, and he never looked back and looked down upon himself. But what he did was really understand the plight of those who are more downtrodden. And that's the strength. And that's what he brought to us throughout the entirety of his life. And that is, in fact, what his legacy is. I am joined in the studio now by Atiba Buchanan, who does our afternoon show along with LaDonna Ray and is our program director. Hey. Atiba, welcome to WVON.
Good morning, brother Rufus.
It's good to have you here this morning, man. Wanted you to share your thoughts and your perspective on the Reverend.
I would be so happy to and honored on this day. First of all, let me say that we obviously give our condolences to the family of Reverend Jackson, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. That being said, you know, at 52 years old, born in Chicago, I have a certain memory of Reverend Jackson.
Yes.
I remember Reverend Jackson.
Your whole life, actually.
My whole life. That was my point. Yes. And so in my whole life, I remember specifically and most vividly his economic power. Yeah. His fights for, you know, he was one of the few people that could make businesses quake in their boots. If he had to go look at the books and see your hiring practices and what was going on, he had that kind of authority. And at the time, I just thought that was normal. Yeah, I just thought that was just regular, right? The things that he did, the power that he could wield. Then I remember him bringing home hostages.
Yeah.
Right. And again,
when nobody else could.
Right. But to me, even then, that just seemed normal. Like, that's what Jesse Jackson does. And then in the past, 10, 15 years, you get to see, oh, wait a minute. Oh, he was different.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had that gap filled.
Right.
In that way since.
He did it and no one else did.
Yeah.
I think back to when we were going through these things with the recession and money was starting to get spent out.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one insurance company that was receiving all this money from the government. And they were talking about how they would dole out who would manage this money. And Reverend had them come in, and it was during one of the conventions here. And we all sat around the table and they asked, who has the capacity to manage this money? There were a number of Black firms around that could do so. And when the gentleman started pointing out this one firm in particular, Reverend, I hadn't seen him in this mode before, but Reverend said, no, that's absolutely not enough. You're giving him 10%. But when you think about the amount of us that are in this country and the amount of us who have put money in, the percentage that we should get should be so much higher than what it is that you're talking about. And Reverend was relentless.
Yes.
And many of us have sat and really understood getting a piece of it, but he wasn't interested in a piece of it. He was interested in us making sure that the people who are engaged and involved are getting the pieces that they're supposed to get.
Yes.
At the percentages in which they should.
And that is exactly, again, that's my memory of him at 15, at 22, so when I, like I said, having the benefit of time and hindsight, when I look back, now I understand that he was really unique, that he was not typical, he was atypical, and that and now I can appreciate what it is we're missing.
He pushed things to the height, and we can look and see in so many ways. It was Reverend Jackson who made way for Barack Obama to become president.
Amen.
It was Reverend Jackson, one, by running, and then by having the game changed in the ways in which delegates are given.
That's right.
Reverend Jackson impacted that so directly. And people will always remember on the night in which Barack received the nomination, on the night in which he won down in Grant Park. And you can only imagine what was in those tears of Reverend Jackson that evening. You can only imagine what was in his mind.
They caught him on camera.
Those were the biggest crocodile tears you've ever seen.
And it was just, I remember that. I can, as you say it, it's emblazoned in my mind. And when you say that about him paving the way, the first thing I think of is, Barack Obama made people believe. It was hope and change, right? Yes. We believed in that. But Jesse Jackson, he tilled that soil first, right? He made us believe. You opened with the I am somebody.
I am somebody.
And again, that's my first memories of him, and that's going to always be my fondest. But he tilled that soil first. So I agree with you 100%. There is no Barack Obama and many other people without Reverend Jessie Jackson first.
When we think about this, I mean, Reverend Jackson ran through the tape. You know, this life, this dash that he have. He said he was going to die fighting, and he did. He pushed it as strongly and as fervently as he could all the way until the end. And there was not a time, you know, I was for a number of Saturdays, I was going out helping to moderate the push breakfast and what was there. And every day, every Saturday, Reverend would come down. And every time he came down, the people would just be so enamored with him being there. And it was always just an honor to be able to go over and talk with him. And at each point, as weak as his voice, as small as it may have been in those moments, because he saved it for the big moments, he'd say, "Brother Rufus, I need your help." And he would tell me the things, the places, the ways, the shapes in which he was trying to get something done, and he needed assistance, because that's what he needed. And we find ourselves in this moment now with Tiba. And, you know, I was asked by Brother Hall earlier how I felt about this. And we here at WVON have the opportunity to have these microphones and continue to expound on what the things are, the pushes, the fights, the necessity of what these great people did before us. And now it's important for us to continue to move that forward with the voices that we have and the microphones that we use every day.
Absolutely. And remembering, you know, that we are worthy of it, that we are somebody. That hit me this morning. I was driving in and, you know, again, we forget, like sometimes in our imperfectness, we think that we're not worthy, or that, no, as a matter of fact, it doesn't matter. If you are in jail, if you are uneducated, you are still worthy. You are still somebody. And that's going to sit with me for the rest of my life.
And he broke it down. I may be on welfare.
Right. Doesn't matter.
I may be poor.
You are somebody.
You are somebody. And we are, and we were, and we felt it. And if anybody who was ever in an arena with him when he said it, and I mentioned earlier, I was in an arena at college at Southern University, which at the time was the largest HBCU in the nation. And to have all of us there on that hot, sweaty day, with the Reverend fist in the air, afro full, yelling, "I am somebody." And man, you know, you look next to you, in front of you, behind you, and just the force and the power of what was happening in that moment was something that I will never, ever, ever forget.
I think what you were feeling was that solidarity.
Yeah.
That we so rarely.
The power.
Yeah.
It was the power. One, it's the power from being at an HBCU. It's the power from being at the largest HBCU. So, you know, there's not another gathering of educated Black people than what's right here. And to be led then by a man with the strength that he brought to us in that moment was just so unbelievably powerful.
That is, amazing.
It is something. Thank you, Atiba, so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts. Let's take a quick break. More reflections on the life and the passing of Reverend Jessie Louis Jackson Sr. when we come back right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Every week, there are names we speak in whispers, faces frozen in time, stories that end with no justice. I am Cleopatra Draper, host of The Cleopatra Show, and I'm not letting them be forgotten. Help Find My Killer is where we revisit the cold cases of Black men, women, and children whose lives were stolen. Cases where killers were never brought to justice. Every Thursday, we'll hear from families who are still grieving, investigators who are still searching, and a community that refuses to give up hope. Because silence protects the guilty, and we will not be silent. Help Find My Killer every Thursday on The Cleopatra Show, exclusively on WVON 1690 AM.
Find My Killer Thursdays on The Cleopatra Show. Let us help you find justice for your loved one.
Email executive producer Sonia Walls at sonia@wvon.com. That's SUNYA@WVON.com.
It's D.L. Hughley.
Either we are going to be able in a society that you all insist have to have these unfettered access to weapons. Policemen have to understand that a great many people, like in Minnesota, are going to have weapons. In America, when you hear people on the right yelling freedom, They only want two freedoms. They want the freedom to carry guns wherever they want and to tell women what to do with their bodies. Those are the only kind of freedoms they're trying to expect.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Hey, Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON. You never know who's going to stop by WVON.
That is Patrice Russian. She's in studio with me right now. Patrice, how you doing?
Great. So glad to be in the windy city. It's not windy, and I'm happy about that.
Buddy Guy, welcome to WVON.
Thank you for having me.
No, it is indeed my honor.
The Tate brothers, all this black magic, black excellence here in the studio right now.
It's good to, be here and be here with you all.
We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, good Tuesday morning, another day, another blessing. It is February 17th. Right now, if you're on the Stevenson, Tri-State to DuSable, Lakeshore Drive, 32 minutes. We are heavy inbound between Harlem and Kedzie, the Dan Ryan, 95th to downtown. You're looking at 25 minutes, slow-moving inbound between 95th and the Skyway. I-57, I-80 to the Ryan, a 16-minute trip, and the Bishop Ford, 80-94 to the Ryan right now, a 19-minute trip. Slow go inbound between 103rd and the Dan Ryan. Your weather for today, cloudy to partly sunny and a high of 52. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. As the days go along, you'll hear more from some very prominent voices about their memory, their thoughts about Reverend Jackson. People are having a very difficult time engaging with this news this morning, the passing of Reverend Jackson at 84 years old. It happened just this morning. I've given some thoughts earlier about Reverend Jackson, but I'll tell you, he is a man of tremendous strength. He had been rejected by his father. He wasn't fully embraced by his stepfather. He was taunted by other children, all while learning the racial caste system that took place in the segregated South. He years later recalled the two water fountains at the bakery that he worked on Saturday mornings, and the first time he got on the bus when his mom led him to the back. At the same time, Reverend Jackson stood out for his energy, his intelligence, and his athleticism. He was an uncommonly nervy little fellow, never abashed at all, said his high school English teacher in Greenville. She said he thought a whole lot of himself right off the bat. He could talk a hole through a billy goat. After he graduated from high school in 1959, Reverend Jackson went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign on a football scholarship. This was an opportunity that allowed him to escape Jim Crow for the very first time. But he soon experienced what he later called the legendary liberalism of the North. He had never been called the most hurtful slur word in the South, but he was taunted with it by college students in the North. It was the same thing as South Carolina, he said, just way off somewhere else. His bravado shaken, he transferred after his freshman year to what is now called North Carolina A&T, the HBCU in Greensboro, North Carolina. There he found the familiar cadences of Southern life. Friends recalled the gospel music of Mahalia Jackson pouring out of his room. He became a leader in his fraternity. Yes, he's a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity and eventually president of the student body. He fell in love with a vibrant, high-energy student named Jacqueline Lavina Brown, known as Jackie. They got married on New Year's Eve in 1962. Soon their first child was born, a daughter they named Santita. 4 more children followed over the next 12 years. Joining me now to share thoughts on Reverend Jackson, his life and his legacy, is Professor Robert Starks. Professor Starks, good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's a very difficult morning, and I'm really hurt, but we know that he had been ill, and we're quite sorry that he has passed away. He was a giant, absolute giant, in politics as well as in civil rights. So we will never get over his passing.
We cannot and will not. Talk about how you came to know Reverend Jackson and some of the things you all did together.
Well, my family and I moved from the West Side to 6700 South Ridgeland in 1962. And later, Reverend Jackson moved, and his family moved across the street from me in the building that was owned by Spencer Leak Sr. And so we knew each other from that time in the 60s. And then in the 1980s, in 1980, I went to work at Operation Push and worked with him, traveled with him, helped him in research, did work in the Operation Push organization. And we became, of course, good friends and worked very hard. But I never will forget when he would tell me, look, Bob, stop the theoretical University of Chicago professor stuff and come down to earth. He would always tell me that I was always talking theoretical stuff and not really talking about what was happening on the ground. He was an absolute genius strategist. He was a kind man. He was a family man that loved his family. His family loved him. And as Jonathan always says, he was a dad. He was a father. So of all the things that he did, he was a family man, a father to his children and to his wife. Mm-hmm.
Just a fantastic man, a fantastic model in so many ways, and all that he did there. Finally, in many ways, people have been recognizing Jackie Jackson. She was featured at the breakfast earlier this year, celebrating the life of Dr. King. So the work that she has done and the work that the family has done, and to have that many children and have them be as big and engaged as they are, is pretty profound for any father to have.
Well, she's a giant in her own way. His success is in part due to the fact that he was married to Jackie, because she's also a giant, a good writer, a researcher, and of course a mom. I mean, to have a father and a mother that are absolutely on the ground with their children and love them and treat them and educate them, as well as being involved in so many activities, is a wonder. I mean, that is absolutely a wonder, to have activist parents who were very good parents who raised very strong, bright children. So yes, Jackie is a giant, and one that I had a great deal of respect for, worked hard with, and we really celebrate her. Absolutely.
Embrace her and the family tightly at this moment. Professor Starks, thank you so much for coming on with us this morning to share some thoughts on
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. All right.
All right. Let's find out what's going on in the news. When we come back, we'll hear the voice of none other than Father Michael Flager, his reflections on Reverend Jessie Louis Jackson, who we lost this morning at 84 years old. We'll be back with more right after this.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here are your news headlines. Civil rights activist and icon Jesse Jackson has died. And Thomas Pritzker steps down as Hyatt chairman over Epstein emails. We will have details on these stories and much more headed your way. National news from the Black Information Network is up next on the station that is Black and proud, WVON 1690 AM, Berwyn, Chicago.
I'm Mike Stevens on your home for Black News First, the Black Information Network.
Keep hope alive! Keep hope alive!
Some consider those to be the most memorable words spoken by Reverend Jessie Jackson, the Black civil rights icon who marched with and was a protege of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was with him when he was assassinated in 1968, carved out his own legacy during the civil rights era and beyond. He was a two-time presidential candidate and consistent advocate for Black people, offering hope in part by sharing his own life experiences.
I wasn't always on television. Writers were not always outside my door. When I was born late one afternoon, October 8th, in Greenville, South Carolina, no writers asked my mother her name. You see, I was born a teenage mother who was born a teenage mother. I know abandonment and people being mean to you and saying you're nothing and nobody and can never be anything. I understand. Jesse Jackson is my third name. I'm adopted. My name was Jesse Burns till I was 12. I understand when nobody knows your name. I understand when you have no name. Born in a 3-room house. Bathroom in the backyard. At 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, we couldn't eat turkey because Mama was preparing somebody else's turkey at 3 o'clock. I really do understand. I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me. And it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
The ordained Baptist minister, former television host, and one-time college football player was known for his fiery words, as if he were in a Black church pulpit, energizing supporters in his own way.
I am Black, beautiful, proud.
Reverend Jackson was also known for his international activism in the 1980s and 90s through his efforts getting foreign governments like those in Syria and Cuba and Iraq to free American and other prisoners. But the encouragement and advocacy for Black Americans still stands today, including efforts for racial reconciliation. Even after his diagnosis for Parkinson's disease in 2015, Jesse Jackson continues to be held in high esteem by Black America. I'm Mike Stevens on the Black Information Network, remembering the late Reverend Jessie Jackson.
Keep hope alive! Keep hope alive!
This report is brought to you by ComEd, powering lives. Here's a great savings idea. Did you know you've got the power to manage your energy? Yep, from usage alerts to energy savings programs and more. ComEd has all kinds of ideas to help you gain control over your energy cost. Find out more at ComEd.com/energy savings.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya, guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Hey Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, good Tuesday morning. Another day, another blessing. It is February 17th. Right now, if you're on the Stevenson, Tri-State to DuSable, Lakeshore Drive, 32 minutes. We are heavy inbound between Harlem and Kedzie, the Dan Ryan, 95th to downtown. You're looking at 25 minutes. Slow moving inbound between 95th and the Skyway. I-57, I-80 to the Ryan, a 16-minute trip, and the Bishop Ford, 80-94 to the Ryan right now, a 19-minute trip. Slow go inbound between 103rd and the Dan Ryan. Your weather for today, cloudy to partly sunny and a high of 52. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
1690 WVON remembers the Reverend Jessie Lewis Jackson Sr. You were a beacon of light, not only for Chicago, but for the nation. From our family to yours. Rest in peace, Reverend Jackson. Job well done.
Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to. WVON, Berlin, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
Welcome back. We received a statement this morning. It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Honorable Reverend Jessie Lewis Jackson Sr. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity. A tireless change agent, he elevated the voices of the voiceless, from his presidential campaigns in the 1980s to mobilizing millions to register to vote, leaving an indelible mark on history. Joining us to share some reflections on the life and the legacy of Reverend Jessie Lewis Jackson Sr. is none other than Father Michael Pfleger. Father Pfleger, good morning. Welcome back to WVON.
Good morning, my friend. It's a sad morning. We will miss that voice that you were just playing. We will miss his voice tremendously. The world has lost a great leader. I've lost a great friend. Even in the last years, Rufus, when he couldn't speak, when he would just show up places, just his presence gave you hope. Just looking at him gave you strength and gave you encouragement. I was blessed last evening to go over and to pray with him and Mrs. Jackson at the house and sit around there for a while and speak with them and then him and Jonathan and Jesse Jr. and just an important part of my life, and took this crazy white kid back in 1975 under his wings and helped mentor and help shape. And we went to jail together. We fought on gun rides over and over together. He marched with us on Michigan Avenue. He stood with me in the Dan Ryan. Just countless examples over and over again of just walking together in this fight, and he never quit. He never up.
You know, Father Flegel, I'm looking at all of the images that are showing up on TV of Reverend Jackson in different stages of his life, different movements, different fights, different things that he was in, doing, and involved with. And it's just been a fascinating life of pushing for others, a life that you know very well in all the work that you're doing. But we were just together on Friday. And one of the things I asked Joy was if she'd had a chance to get over to see Reverend Jackson. And she looked with sorrow and said, I didn't have a chance this time. And the thought was that next time I get to town, I'll see him. And you know, it's just it's one that obviously for all of us this day comes, but it's very, very hard to know that this has happened. I need you, if you could, give us something to work with, give us something to go on, give us something to build on when we consider this the level of this loss.
I think important, you know, Rufus, is that, you know, one of the things Reverend Jackson always told us, and you'd see repeat over and over again when he spoke, when we fight, we win. And we can look back over his life and see wins, see how corporations changed. Some just changed when their call was made that he was coming to see them. Just knowing he was coming, they were ready to make changes. In corporations, he opened doors that were shut and closed for so many people. Whether it was acknowledged or not at the time, Barack Obama would have never been president without Reverend Jackson. Reverend Jackson opened doors, pushed doors, was taken as a serious candidate when he ran, and registered thousands to vote. I think one of the ways that we can, you know, be encouraged in this time is to reminded by him that you never give up, you never quit, and if we continue to fight, that we do win. I think he shows us in a day when we can be so overwhelmed with the evil and the wickedness that's going on in this country, from the White House down, that, you know, he never gave up. His faith was so grounded in him that, like Dr. King's, that, you know, we're going to win, you know, but we're only going to win if we fight. And I think one of the things that we've got to keep remembering is that this is not a time to get overwhelmed or to fall back or to give up or to throw up our hands. If we really believe in and honor Reverend Jackson, then we have to carry on that mantle of fighting and standing up. Wherever there was injustice in the world, Reverend Jackson showed up. And I think the other thing that he gave us, you know, his whole concept that, you know, taken from his mentor, Dr. King, of the Rainbow Coalition. He always believed that injustice anywhere, you know, was affected all of us. And so that the black and the white and the brown had always had to come together. And if there's ever a time that we need to remember that, it's now, when there's so much trying to divide us, so much trying to separate us, you know, fighting each other over the crumbs in this world, that he said, we've got to come together. We're more powerful together. We're stronger together. We win together. So I think that, you know, Reverend Jackson taught us to hope, and he never, ever, ever, ever gave up the hope of winning. Never, no matter how big the battle was. And he showed us wins over and over again. So I think, you know, the message to me, at least, I know when I was driving home last night from seeing him and saying, thinking to myself, you know, Flegel, you know, keep fighting, don't give up, you know, have the kind of stamina he had, have the kind of tenacity he had. That smile of his, you know, when people would look like things were just going crazy, he just looked at her, that Jesse Jackson smile, almost a mischievous smile, to say, all right, so how are we going to beat this? And I remember we got arrested at Chuck's gun shop. We're sitting there in the jail in Riverdale, and he said, so what are we going to do when we get out? It's Reverend Jackson. I said, Reverend Jackson, I just want to get out right now. I ain't thinking about nothing except getting these handcuffs off me. What are we going to do when we get out?
Oh, that's good. You know, no fight was never too big. No fight was ever too small.
No.
And he said that, you know, if you don't fight, you can't win. And the ground is no place for a champion.
Yeah. He took Muhammad Ali's quote on that, to get up. You get up again, you fall down, you lose some small battles, but you don't lose the war. And every time he gave me a picture years and years ago and signed it and wrote a note to me of that last night with him and Dr. King. At that last speech, Dr. King came and him sitting next to Dr. King talking, and just always reminded me, keep fighting. And I'm grateful for his mentoring. I'm grateful for what he shared in my life with me, the things he poured into me, the messages that he challenged me. I remember one of the first times I met him. I mean, actually, the first time I met him, he used to have these things over at his house on Christmas Day. People would all come in Christmas Day and stop in. So somebody invited me to go. It was the first time I would meet him. And afterwards, I just sat there and listened. I'd just gotten here in 75. And on the way out, I'm going to my car, and he comes out on the steps there in Constance and walks out. And he says, Flegger. He always called me Flegger. Hey, Flegger. And I said, come here. And he said, I'm a little leery about white people. I have to check them out, but you made sense in there. We go talk. And I went home that day with the biggest smile on my face that Reverend Jackson told me I made sense.
It's because you do. Father Flegger, thank you so much for all that you do. And thanks for coming on this morning and sharing these thoughts. I appreciate you so much. All right. I need to take a break, but before I do, let me grab Miss Eunice. Miss Eunice, good morning and welcome to View. I lost Miss Eunice. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back. More reflections on the life and the legacy of Reverend Jessie Lewis Jackson, who we lost this morning at 84 years old. We'll be back right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Tell everybody, Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. The holiday season should remind us that faith and family are the most important things in life. And we hope that you succeed in coming together this holiday season with those you love and in the process creating some generational memories. Holidays have this magical power to magnify small things to ever greater memories over time. What a return on investment. Happy holidays.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Springfield area attorneys. 2815 Old Jacksonville Road, Suite 103, Springfield, Illinois, 62704.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Chicago, this one is for you. Join OG Mr. Rick for the OG Culture Report every Thursday night from 9 to 12 right here on WVON 1690 AM. We're talking the culture, our stories, the streets, politics, entertainment, our struggles, our wins, and the voices that matter. Don't miss it. Every Thursday night, 9 to 12, the OG Culture Report with yours truly, OG Mr. Rick on WVON 1690. That's it. That's all.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
County Care is rated the highest quality.
Spend it all. I have not money. We make it before we see it. You take it.
Welcome back. We are remembering the life, the legacy of Reverend Jessie Lewis Jackson Sr., who we lost this morning at 84 years old. Joining me is Andrew Stroth, noted attorney who spent some time in a number of places. Andrew, good morning. Welcome back to WVON.
Good morning, Rufus. Thanks for having me back on your show.
Yeah. Share your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the loss of this?
I tell you, Reverend Jackson was an inspiration to me personally. I remember when I was in college watching his presidential campaign in 1988 and Keep Hope Alive, and he was one of the motivating and inspirational reasons why I decided to start Action Injury Law Group, a civil rights law firm in Chicago. And Reverend Jackson was very supportive. He used to come and meet with families and attend press conferences and really be an advocate. So I'm grateful to the Reverend Jackson, similar to Father Michael Flager and Jeremiah A. Wright Jr. Sometimes in life you meet certain people and they have such a profound impact on your life and your vision and your mission. So I'm grateful that we had Reverend Jackson for all these years.
As are we. Talk about, Andrew, when did you meet him first?
I met him years ago at Rainbow Push. And then I used to come to his conference every year. And then, back in the day when I was representing professional athletes, I used to run into him. And then we really became closer when I launched the civil rights firm, and he was always available and willing and supportive. So I met him a couple of decades ago, but the last, 12 years is when, early when I launched Action, he was really a big supporter and a big advocate for the work I was doing to support Black people in Chicago and across the country.
Yeah, just a great man, a great guy. I know you've got a lot to do. Certainly appreciate you, Andrew, taking a moment and calling in and sharing some thoughts on the Reverend. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, I'll tell you this, Rufus, there's no Barack Obama but for Jeremiah A. Wright Jr., but for Jesse Jackson Sr. There's no Jesse Sr. taught me the power of advocacy, the power of leveraging stakeholders and the media. Before Instagram, before TikTok, before Facebook, Reverend Jackson was on the forefront of these issues and advocating for change. So I'm grateful to have spent time with him.
As we all are. Andrew, again, good luck to you with all that you're doing. Come back sometime. We got a lot to talk about, but thank you so much.
Will do. Take care. Thanks, Rufus.
All right. Let's continue on. Mama D, good morning and welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Yah God rising. And let's love souls into shape. My condolences to the Jackson family, the world's first family. I remember one Christmas, Reverend Jackson went to Cook County Jail every year. So this particular Christmas, Jesse Jr. came in late and he said, I just didn't feel right having Christmas with my family. And I also remember over the WVON airwaves, Reverend Jackson called me his soulmate. And over the WVON airwaves, he told Dorothy Tillman to leave Mama D alone. And off the airwaves, he called me a caboose. Now, a caboose can lead a train, it can follow a train, or it can travel alone. I love the Jackson family. They are the world's first family. And if a Nobel Peace Prize can be given posthumously, I hope Barack Obama, as a Nobel Peace Prize winner, will nominate him. And in conclusion, former Mayor Harold Washington said, greatness is not measured by where you are, but how far you have to come to get there. From the outhouse to the White House is a mighty long way.
Thank you.
Long live the legacy of a great man.
Thank you so much, Mama D. Appreciate you. We have joining us this morning. I don't know how he's doing it, but he is that guy. And we really send love and condolences to his family and are grateful that he had the opportunity to check in with us as well. It is the son of Reverend Jessie Lewis Jackson Sr., Congressman Jonathan Jackson. Congressman Jackson, good morning. Our condolences throughout, certainly from us here, from me personally and my family, and from the world to you and your family on the loss of your dad.
Well, thank you, Brother Rufus, and love to the WVON family. We appreciate you. My father's graced the airwaves of this channel for so long. With Mr. Purvis Band and through the leadership of Melody, I want to say thank you to all the persons that prayed for my father. Prayer does work. He had the rarest form of Parkinson's, and they told him he was to be expired many years ago. And he fought, and now he's with the ancestors. And so I'm totally grateful, totally thankful for the life he's lived. And thank God for the 60 years that I've had with my father, and the life and the work that he's had has been dangerous work, and we never took our time with him for granted. I'm grateful and have a heavy heart, but I'm happy, and I pray for all those that have lost loved ones that are going through the same things that we're going through right now. So thank you, Brother Rufus.
No, Jonathan, thank you. I know you've been busy this morning. I heard your voice early today somewhere. So grateful that you had an opportunity to spend some time with us. Jonathan, can you tell us what his last moments were like, how he moved on to the Lord?
Yeah, he's been under some more severe challenges since the fall, and he expired about 1:52 this morning. Made his transition to be with the ancestors, and this 100th year anniversary of African American History Month. And in the district, they gave birth to Black History Month. And on the end of President's Day, it was all fitting. So I was surrounded by my brother Jesse Jr. and Mom, my father's wife, of my mother, his wife of 64 years. So it was very peaceful. He was with his family, and God is good.
What can we do to help you and your family in this moment of profound need?
You know, prayer is the legacy, and his legacy is that of selfless service. You know, he would never miss an opportunity to tell people to register, to make sure that you vote in your numbers. Make that a family tradition. And education has got to be a cultural and a family tradition. He let us know that we weren't better than anybody. That's humility. But we are somebody that you have a level of dignity. You have to have humility and a sense of righteous determination, and stand up, speak out, seeing injustice, speak up. He was simply a minister, not a government official. He didn't win an elected office, didn't have ranking membership, chairman membership. He had to raise money, hand to mouth every day, feed an organization to defend those that were marginalized and those that were defenseless. And from being on the balcony with Reverend Martin Luther King and being arrested at the age of, I think it was 17 or 18, trying to use a public library. Right now it seems like a joke and seems like something trivial, but that's something that could get you killed in the America he grew up in the Jim Crow South. And he kept pushing to make America better. And he was a trailblazer, not a pathfinder. And he told me the trailblazer has to cut the weeds and go through the thicket and get bloodied and scarred and sometimes, and people aren't happy to see you around, that the pathfinders get to take the victory lap, but somebody has to blaze the trail. And I respect and love him so much for that he made a difference in so many people's lives. And when I hear all the stories, my father confronted discrimination and racism and helped people get contracts, help people get business. And that's why I'm going to continue on fighting for DEI. I started a DEI caucus in the United States Congress. I'm not afraid of a President Trump. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and noble goals. And I started my prayer last week at the Congressional Caucus, talking about the Imago Dei and the Verbum Dei in Latin. Once they understand that Dei in Latin is spelled DEI, meaning of God, how can you be against DEI?
Some just don't understand. Jonathan, what was it like growing up with a man as prominent, as powerful, and as popular as your dad?
Rufus is it's the only father I know. He bought me shoes when I was getting suspended. He had to come up to school, admonish me, told me to do homework. It's fatherhood. You need something, tells you what you can have and can't have. And when you're young, you disagree. And when you get older and have your own children, you understand the lessons that they were saying. But I knew my father was just not mine, that he meant so much to so many other people. He was a father's father. He touched so many other men and children that didn't have their fathers, that my father would show up for them. And so I just he's so much bigger than my father. He was a father to a nation, a generation of young people and older people, and took down barriers. So it gives me a heart that overflows with joy and love that he touched so many people. And he did what mattered most in life, and that's making a difference in other people's lives.
He did. And just finally, did you all line up and say, I am somebody every morning?
You want to be a comedian on this morning, and that's really good. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Listen, Rufus, when I grew up, I thought every child understood. We didn't grow up singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. We grew up singing We Shall Overcome. And and then every spring, and then this next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're going to be going back down to Selma. People went to Disney and King's Dominion and, Santa's Village and up to Wisconsin. We grew up going to Selma every spring break. I thought everybody went to Selma. I thought everybody sang We Shall Overcome. And I thought everybody had to go to church on Sunday and go to a Rainbow Push on a Saturday. And people would know about cartoons. I said, I didn't get a chance to watch cartoons. We had to be a Rainbow Push on Saturday. And I thought that was normal. And I thank God for that. So you raise the children in the way that you want to go. So being on a stage with President Trump doesn't scare me, because I grew up with a father that had no fear.
There you go. You fought bigger fights. Congressman, to you, to your mom, to your family, our deepest condolences on the loss of Reverend Jessie Jackson Sr. And
love you, Brother Rufus. It's our loss and heaven's gain, and he'll never leave us so long as we keep him on our lips. Say his name. Amen. You're the best, Rufus.
Keep hope alive, as you are. Appreciate you.
Keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive.
You're the best.
All right.
All right, babe. Bye.
Let's find out what's going on in the news. When we come back, more reflections on the loss of the passing of Reverend Jessie Louis Jackson Sr.
I'm Candace McCollum, and here's what's happening in your local and national news. Civil rights leader and former presidential candidate Reverend Jessie Jackson has died. Rory O'Neal has more.
His family announced the death overnight, saying Jessie Jackson passed away peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. In a statement, they remembered Jackson as an icon whose, quote, unwavering belief in justice, equality, and love uplifted millions. It goes on to say, we ask you to honor his memory by continuing the fight for the values he lived by. An ordained Baptist minister who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jesse Jackson died at age 84 after a long illness. I'm Rory O'Neill.
In other news, Chicago is coming off a record-breaking day of warmer weather. The National Weather Service says the city recorded a high of 65 degrees yesterday, making it the warmest February 16th in the city's recorded history. That broke the previous record of 58 degrees set in 1921. And there is a new blood test that can detect lung cancer before it shows up on scans. Lead researcher Han Zhang from the university in China published this finding in the journal called Optica. The test involves a new sensor that can detect very small amounts of cancer in blood. Zhang says this could help make disease treatments simpler and possibly improve survival rates and lower overall healthcare costs. I'm Candace McCollum, and that's what's happening in your news now on the Talk of Chicago 1690 WVON.
County Care is rated the highest quality Medicaid plan in Illinois. I'm Dr. Yvonne Collins, and at County Care, we listen to member feedback and then make changes to improve our health plan. That's why our members give County Care 5 out of 5 stars for overall plan services. We work hard at County Care to make sure you get the care you need when you need it. Learn more at countycare.com/quality. That's countycare.com/quality. County Care is open to all Cook County residents in Road and Health Choice, Illinois.
Hey Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Chicago, good Tuesday morning. I hope all is well. We begin on the Edens, the Lake Cook to Montrose, a 15-minute ride right now on the Kennedy O'Hare to downtown. 37 minutes slow moving inbound between Harlem and Montrose. So right now on the Eisenhower Wolf to the post office, you're looking at 41 minutes. We are heavy inbound between Harlem and Sacramento. The Stevenson Tri-State to DuSable Lakeshore Drive, a 40-minute trip. Slow go inbound between Ashland and the Dandelion. Your weather for today, cloudy to partly sunny, and we are expecting some rainfall later tonight, a high of 52. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
But I am somebody. I may be hungry, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be respected. I may be poor.
That, ladies and gentlemen, will live long for us and for all of our children and their children's children and everyone, because I am, in fact, somebody. And if there was ever a question, Reverend Jackson made sure that we all knew. I got calls, a bunch of calls coming in, celebrating, recognizing, remembering, and sharing thoughts about Reverend Jackson, his life and legacy. Miss Eunice, good morning and welcome to WVON. What's on your mind this morning?
Rufus, my heart is heavy to turn on the morning Joe this morning and heard Reverend had passed. I would just like to say, God rest his soul, a job well done, and condolences go out to the family. There's so much I could say about what I've been involved in over the 58 years that I've been with Operation Breadbasket, Push, and on and on. And I'll never forget the boycott of what I call the Jane Byrne Fest. Someone came on Reverend's talk show and said we should boycott. Reverend got on it, and we never stopped. We picketed in the rain and whatever else it took. And thank you for taking my call, and I'll say more at a later time.
Thank you, Miss Eunice. Always, you are efficient and thoughtful in your comments. There was, ladies and gentlemen, a note that came from DC this morning, and there were some things in there. It was positive, about the Reverend. Because I don't share much about what comes from there, I won't share it in its entirety because, of course, he went some other places that need not to have gone and some other references that certainly were inappropriate. So I will say something did come out. The loss of Reverend Jackson was acknowledged, and it was acknowledged positively. But then other stuff, as you might expect, was there. Dr. Richard Blackman, good morning and welcome to WVON. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, Rufus. How are you doing?
Doing fine. Doing as well as we can under the circumstances.
Yeah, a couple of things came to mind as I reflected on Reverend Jackson. One is that anytime I ever called Reverend Jackson to help with any project I was working on, if it involved young people or poor people, he never said no. I remember calling him when I was working at Hyde Park Academy. And Linda Murray and I discovered that we had about 250 juniors and seniors that could register and vote. And at the time, his lieutenant over voter registration was a lady named Dolores, and she was a Hyde Park Academy graduate. So we contacted Dolores, said, can you guys come over, get our young people ready to go across the street to Jackson Park and register to vote? Well, unbeknown to us, not only did she show up, but Reverend Jackson showed up. And he got those young people fired up, and they went across the street, and all 250 of them registered and voted. The second thing that comes to mind when I reflect on Reverend Jackson is that in 1984, I was at SIU Carbondale, and in 1988, I had just graduated from law school at Notre Dame, and I worked on his campaign in 88 from Indiana. And then the final thing I want to say is that I've been watching the NFL lately, Rufus, and I don't know if you watched this, but they've co-opted his statement, I am somebody. I've seen that in several NFL advertisements doing like commercials and stuff. Well, they'll have different athletes and different players saying, I am somebody, and they have a group of young people sitting down with them repeating that I am somebody. And so those are the things that come to mind immediately when I heard about his passing this morning. Like everybody else, I'm heartbroken, but I am glad that I got the chance to experience him in several settings. The first time I ever saw Reverend Jackson, I was about 5 years old, and I was at Operation Push, Operation Breadbasket back then with my mother and my aunt. And Dr. King happened to be there that Saturday.
Wow.
And but of course, Reverend Jackson got up and did his thing before Dr. King. But I remember asking my mother who that was, and she said, well, that was Dr. King, and the other younger man was, Reverend Jackson. And so I just have really fond memories of him. Jesse Jr. and I are really good friends, and we talk a lot about all kinds of stuff going on. But I just send my prayers and my condolences and positive energy over to the family in this time. But, I thank God that I had the opportunity to live during his lifetime and to experience him firsthand.
Well, we so appreciate you sharing your thoughts about the Reverend. I mean, he as you began, there was no voice, no fight that was too big or too small for the Reverend. And he really looked out for people, recognizing the need that we have. And it's left to all of us as we remember him to continue to live that legacy and look out for those who may have less than we have. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
Thank you, Rufus, for doing this.
All right. Let's continue on. Yvonne, good morning and welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I just want to say I'm a Chicago public school teacher. And a number of years ago, the administration of my school, an elementary school, was trying to fire me. I mean, after 2 days, he was writing me up after the second day of school. So I went to Operation Push, and somehow or other, I was ushered into Jesse Jackson's his office, and it was full pile of papers and and I told him what happened. And, while I was there fighting, and he said, okay, and he had somebody take me out. Do you know they took me to the stage? And this was on Saturday morning, and I told the congregation, the people who were there, what was happening to me. And all that mess that the Board of Education and the teachers and everybody was trying to do to get rid of me, it just stopped. Just because I went to see Jesse Jackson. So that was my experience. And I'm so glad you're doing this. And I'm learning more about him now. But I just want to say that Jesse Jackson put Chicago on the map. Chicago blacks on the map. We run it. We have a black mayor now, and I believe because of Jesse Jackson. And I just want to give my condolences to his family. We gonna work hard. All you high school juniors, all you high school seniors, college students, all you people, black, white, Latino, whatever, get registered and get out to vote
Great
on
message.
November 3rd. Thank
Yvonne,
you.
Thank you so much. Joining me next is one who has been, I've got pictures of sitting there with a debate that she was in when she was running for mayor, but it's none other than Lori Lightfoot. Mayor Lightfoot, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Good morning, Rufus.
So good to have you. So good to hear your voice. Mayor, talk to us about your thoughts about Reverend Jackson and his passing.
Well, first of all, let me extend my sincere and deep condolences to Mrs. Jackson and all of his children and family. This is a bittersweet moment. It is obviously sad to be losing someone who was very much a part of the fabric of the city of Chicago. You know, the world claimed him, but I think we claimed him first and foremost because he lived here amongst us. He was a regular participant in civic life in Chicago. But I am also grateful for the time that I was able to be in his presence and spend with him to get to know him. I'm also glad his suffering is over.
Yeah.
So it's a tough morning, but I think a time for us to really reflect and rejoice in the incredible life he lived and the legacy that he continues to leave.
You continue to be the first in so many different ways in your life. Talk about how Reverend Jackson and his work and his effort may have helped you become those things that you were as you moved through life.
Well, I remember being a young student at the University of Michigan when he first ran for president. And I just regarded it as this audacious thing. I didn't really know about Shirley Chisholm running for president at that time. But I just, this whole atmosphere and movement and excitement around his candidacy really caught my attention back in 83 and 84 when he first ran. And then fast forward many years later to have borne witness to the many things that he did over the arc of his career, the many dignitaries, world dignitaries that he rubbed shoulders with and sat down with and negotiated with, and then to be sitting in his office at Push as a young lawyer, frankly, in the wake of the murder of Laquan McDonald, and trying to understand what the path forward would be. To say that I was starstruck would be a tremendous understatement. But what I can say is that Reverend Jackson was incredibly generous with his time, with his counsel to me. We talked often before I was mayor. We talked often once I became mayor. And I felt like it was a great honor to be able to bear witness to his genius. I mean, he was a master strategist on every level. He saw nuances and moves that other people just never observed or saw or detected. And so it was really a master class every time I was with him.
You know, I recall, and I mentioned at the top, being at the debate with you and Tony Preckwinkle, and I sat with, it was me, Tyrone Studemeyer, and Reverend Jackson sitting together. And after the debate was over, you came down from the stage and you came out and spoke with him. And I saw that as being such a sense of regard and respect in who he was. And your honor in doing that was one of those moments that I will always reflect back on as I think about you and think about him.
You know, how could I not? Here is this person who had led such a big public life, who had really taken up the mantle of Dr. King in the wake of his assassination. And here he was caring enough about the city of Chicago and what was going to happen in the mayor's race to be there. Of course, I went and paid him respect. That's what my parents raised me to do, was to respect people who would blaze a trail for all of us.
Mayor Lightfoot, thank you so much for all that you've done. And thanks so much for calling in this morning and sharing your thoughts on the passing of Reverend Jackson. This is a very difficult day for so many of us, even though we knew the day would eventually come. It's just hard that it's here. And we certainly appreciate hearing your voice and the reflections on his life. Thank you so much for being you. And thanks for checking in with us this morning.
Well, thank you. And thanks for to VON and Melody Span Cooper for devoting this time. I think when somebody as meaningful as Reverend Jackson passes, people want to be able to express themselves. And thank you for creating the space for people to do that.
Well, it is my honor. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. We'll talk
Thank
again
you.
soon. We'll be back with more, wrap up the show right after this.
That's another amazing run by Team USA.
Mom, think I'll be on Team USA one day?
Well, I'll take this one.
What? Are you speaking to us?
Yes, and to answer your question, anything's possible, especially with Xfinity.
So I can be the best snowboarder ever?
Well, I can't guarantee that, but Xfinity can guarantee that your internet price won't change for 5 years.
Okay. What if I practice every day?
Then maybe you'll be snowboarding for Team USA at the next Olympic Winter Games. And Mom, you'll still be paying the same price for Wi-Fi.
Ooh, really stuck the landing there.
It's the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get our best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed, just $50 a month. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 value per month. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
It's DL Hughley.
Being a black new Trump supporter is like getting addicted to crack right now. The right is more angry at gay people than pedophiles. Nicki Minaj called Don Lemon a thug. It's called him a c***er. You had a husband that is a registered sex offender, and I don't understand why Nicki Minaj would be worried about Don Lemon when it's Chris Hansen she needs to be aware about the dude from Catch a Predator.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. The holiday season should remind us that faith and family are the most important things in life. And we hope that you succeed in coming together this holiday season with those you love and in the process creating some generational memories. Holidays have this magical power to magnify small things to ever greater memories over time. What a return on investment. Happy holidays.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Springfield area attorneys. 2815 Old Jacksonville Road, Suite 103, Springfield, Illinois, 62704.
This is Kamini Khan, certified financial planner professional. For the past year, I've been on a mission to change lives and build wealth in our community. Together, we're changing the paradigm. This year, I'm back with a new series, Wealth Strategies, Money Talks. Join me every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on the Rufus Williams Show as we have thoughtful discussions around building wealth in our community. We'll discuss topics like investing, savings, tax strategies, retirement, and all things money. Yes, that's Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so set those alarms. Also, be sure to check out the podcast at WVONWealthShow.com.
Komini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors, LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
This report is brought to you by Mattress Firm. Score major deals on top brands at Mattress Firm's President's Day sale. Find your dream mattress today. Their sleep experts are highly trained to find the right one to fit your unique needs. They make sleep easy.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Chicago, good Tuesday morning. I hope all is well. We begin on the Edens, the Lake Cook to Montrose, a 15. Minute ride right now on the Kennedy, O'Hare to downtown. 37 minutes slow moving inbound between Harlem and Montrose. Right now on the Eisenhower, Wolf to the post office. You're looking at 41 minutes. We are heavy inbound between Harlem and Sacramento. The Stevenson Tri-State to DuSable Lakeshore Drive, a 40-minute trip. Slow go inbound between Ashland and the Dan Ryan. Your weather for today, cloudy to partly sunny, and we are expecting some rainfall later tonight, a high of 52. I'm Candace McCollum with an update on the roads on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up my segment of today, honoring the life, the legacy of Reverend Jessie Louis Jackson Sr. The family announced this morning that with profound sadness, the Reverend has gone on with the ancestors. He died peacefully this morning, surrounded by his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity. A tireless change agent, he elevated the voices of the voiceless, from his presidential campaigns in the 1980s to mobilizing millions to register to vote, leaving an indelible mark on history. One of the callers earlier mentioned Laquan McDonald. And when we saw the video of the murder of Laquan McDonald, and we tried to figure out what to do, and I was on the phone with Sherry Runner, who was then the head of the Urban League, and we were on the phone with some others, and Reverend Jeanette Wilson was on with us as well, and said the Reverend Jackson's having a meeting tomorrow. And at that point, we felt like we've got something to do, someplace to go, and someone who's going to help us to figure out what to do in this space. And we went over and we met. And that conversation, us and others, led to the shutdown, at least the attempt, the shutdown for some time on Black Friday on Michigan Avenue as we marched. And it was a bit chilly and a bit rainy that morning. But as I was there, led by Reverend Jackson in the front, I think I was in row 2 or 3, but as I looked around, and people had on coats and people had on hats, but if you could just have seen the magnitude of the personalities that were in that group marching that morning, big and small, big reverends, small reverends, regular people, business people, everyone was there because we needed to do something. And the Reverend was doing what the Reverend does, which is leading us. We had numerous other meetings at Rainbow Push to talk about the impact of that assassination of this young teenager and what it was that we should do. And always we knew that Reverend Jackson, when Reverend Jackson called the meeting, we showed up. And when we showed up, we knew that we were engaging, we were involving, we were going to do something that made sense in the world. Reverend Jackson taught us what to do, showed us how to do it, and he has now gone on to watch us from afar, to be the angel on our shoulder, to be the ancestor that we can now think about and look back to in so many ways. I love you, Reverend Jackson. We will miss you. The world will miss you, and we are honored by the presence that you had with us for so long. I know there are a number of callers on the board that I was not able to get to this morning. We're going to stay on this theme, certainly for the course of the day. So stay here, call in, share with Cleopatra, share with Matt, share with Atiba and LaDonna, share with us, because the loss of this great man is a loss to all of us. Candace, as always, we appreciate you giving us the information that gets us through the day. And Titus, this was not at all the show that we had planned, but it's the show that we have. And sometimes man plans and God laughs. And this is one of those times. I appreciate you for all that you do each day to make all these things work. And ladies and gentlemen, keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves honored, and certainly keep yourselves in memory of the work of Reverend Jackson and what we must do to move that work forward. And as always, I ask you, as you go through the course of the day, you will come across people who are dealing with things that you know absolutely nothing about. So please be kind, always. And with that, Candace, tell us what's in the headlines, and T-Dub, take us home.
Ready on the start? Okay, here we go. I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be young, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be small, but I am somebody. I may make a mistake, but I am somebody. My clothes are different. My face is different. My hair is different. But I am somebody. I am black, brown, white. I speak a different language, but I must be respected, protected, never rejected. I am God's child. I am somebody. Give yourself a big hand.